And to everybody that's like subscribed to the channel and left comments and everything, I want to say thank you. Folks have left comments. I've been having problems with YouTube getting back and forth and like for accounts and things. So I'm not ignoring you. I just haven't been able to get into comment. But thank you, and no, I'm getting them, and I really appreciate it. Okay, so one of the projects I've been working on is some collapsible furniture for events. Simple things you can make out of plywood, break down, make it look nice, have a little more of a historical look than, folding chairs and metal tables and whatnot. So this is my proof of concept table I made. It's made from a 2x4 foot piece of, I think half-inch, maybe 3/8 plywood. It's been painted, came out of all one sheet. So it bolts together. There are slots right here, one coming up and then one coming down on the opposite piece. I had notches cut out for the tabletop to set on. Now, one thing I goofed on, which, this was my learning table, was I didn't get this portion sanded enough so that when I put the paint on, it's still a little too thick. Plus, it's swollen with humidity and things like that. But overall, it works really well. All it really needs left is throwing some extra clear coat on the top to help protect it, because this is just acrylic paint, craft paint, and some house paint. There is a little bit of Sharpie detailing, but other than that, it's just paint. So let me clear this out of the way and I'll show you the next part. Okay, so everything's cleared out of the way. So this next one, which is going to be my kind of tutorial piece, you can make all of this from a 2x2 piece of half-inch plywood that is about $2.50 at most big box hardware store. So Lowe's, Home Depot, Menards. This one came from Menards. This is not the sanded finished version. You can get ones that are sanded on one side. They cost about $1 more. All right, but overall you can do the sanding yourself if you want. If you don't have sandpaper or sander, you can get one side finished. It works just as well. All right, so hopefully folks can see this. This is the drawing for it. So it's a little different from the other one. Tabletop itself is going to be an 18-inch circle. It is 2-foot legs with basically a 3-foot edge siding, or 3-inch edges. Come down, form the legs. All the shaded spots here are the spots that are going to be cut out. So you got one part here that comes in 1 inch. This one comes up 1 inch. These come off. These should still be sturdy enough. If they're not, I might have to consider making this only a 1/2 inch deep cut, or maybe making, some changes to the circle. You could make it a square if you really wanted to. But overall, it should still work the same way. It's pretty sturdy when it's set down like that, so I don't worry too much about it. You could also glue some of your scrap pieces here over here as kind of like a bracer, one to either side, so it's a little thicker, a little more sturdy. So this is 5:1 graph paper. So basically I just drew it out as every inch is a square. And there's Plum to come try and help and tell us how everything is woeful and who am I talking to, things like that. Alright, so what I did after I moved Plum out of the way, yes Plum, we know we need help, is I roughly drew out where all my cuts are going to be. I didn't draw Plum in so that I could lay down some tape so that way when I go through and make my cuts, it'll help protect the plywood. So plywood is kind of notorious for kind of splitting and cracking away when you cut it. So when you cut it, you want to use, I found, as fine a tooth a saw as you can. So like, for example, I use like a metal aluminum blade because it's really kind of finer toothed. And then if you lay down some masking tape where you want your cuts to go, this helps keep it from pulling away and makes your cut a lot nicer and neater. So got everything laid out, prepped for cutting to make my pieces, and then I can sand it and then paint it. So you can do this with a handsaw. A jigsaw is much easier, a lot quicker too. But you can use a handsaw, a little coping saw for your corners, So this is a minimal tool project. So kind of go from there. And once I remove Plum again, because she has to be in the middle of everything, I will go through, cut these pieces out, and then we'll work on the sanding. I'm not going to bore you with cutting it out. How you cut it out is up to you. And then we'll show how it's put together, roughly, without paint. And then we'll paint it and go through how we're going to do it all. And be back. Okay, so it's all cut out. My cuts did not turn out as well as I would have liked. Part of it was I got in a hurry, which that's my fault. And then the other parts are just kind of the nature of plywood, especially if you're just not doing straight cuts and you have to do curves and things like that. So you can kind of see though how the tape kind of helped things from splitting. Just kind of the nature of the laminates for plywood. My cuts for the section where it crosses just didn't come out the way I wanted. It started to split and crack. May have been just because it's too small, or because the plywood wasn't thick enough just to kind of hold up to the pressure that was on it. But it still turned out okay. It's not horribly, it's not really unstable. It's just not the prettiest and cleanest it could have been. So the next step will be to clean off all the tape, do some sanding, and then I can start painting. So you can kind of see, as long as you take your time with it, it'll turn out pretty nice. It isn't as squared up as I would normally have planned it. It did get more of an X cross because one of the slots is a little wider, but that actually turns out better in the long run for the stability, and I think when I get my paint on there, it'll also help. So it'll take a little bit sanding, and then painting a base coat, and then we'll do another video on the fancy painting. So here's the start. something you can do. Draw it out, cut it out. Pretty simple. And then we'll go from there, and it looks like, oh, hey, cool. So, hope everybody's having a good day, and we'll talk to you later.